Hi there, this is Miss Walsh, your friendly local saxophonist. Today I'm going to talk about something really important, which is intonation. And I say it's really important because if you've ever performed with a group that's on the younger side, chances are you've experienced some bad intonation. And if the intonation isn't good, it almost doesn't matter anything else about how you play, whether all the notes are right is going to sound pretty bad if it's out of tune. So, what do I mean when I say something is out of tune? So, I'm going to give an example here that I recorded. So, here's what it might sound like. Yeah, so I had to record that myself, and the whole time I kept thinking, all right, I've got to make sure it's in tune. But really, I was supposed to not be in tune. And that was actually hard to do. I kept thinking, oh, wait, I've got to not be in tune. So, intonation, an easy example would be if you have two people playing the same note. And one person is higher than the other person's note, or vice versa, or lower than the other person's note. That's when it's going to be out of tune. The two notes are not matching. What's difficult about intonation is that we basically need to play exactly the same note. The sound waves have to be exactly matching sound waves. So, as an example, you might hear this one day if you've ever heard A equals 440. Sometimes in band they say that we want to make sure A equals 440. Well, what does that mean? 440 watts. It's I believe hertz. So think of sound waves. In 1 second, there would be 440 sound waves. If somebody else comes along and plays 443 sound waves, it's going to actually be out of tune. Just three more waves different because the waves don't line up. So that's how hard it is to play in tune. But today I'm going to give a few initial guidelines for how to get in tune if you're a brand new beginner just starting to play, and then a few things you can do over a longer period of time to maintain your intonation and get it better and better as time goes on. So let's say you're an absolute beginner. You just got your saxophone. It's a brand new. Probably if it's brand new, the cork that it comes with is actually going to be too big. They give fresh cork on a new saxophone, and it's got to be really poofy because over time it kind of gets smushed. So they start off with the cork being too big, and you'll know it's too big if when you're putting the mouthpiece on, it kind of creaks a lot, and it's really hard to move. So if it goes, that's how you know it's not matching the mouthpiece, which is okay. For the first step, if you're probably under high school age, I would recommend telling your parents to help you with this because if anything goes wrong, they're the ones who are going to have to deal with it. They'll take you to the shop and things. But ask your parents for help. What you're going to do is get sandpaper, like you use for furniture and stuff. And that's easy to find even at a grocery store or pharmacy, hardware stores. You get sandpaper, and first, please protect the neck. Put some tape around the neck so that you don't put scratches on the neck like I did the last time I did this. There's scratches right here. You can just get painter's tape or masking tape. And then you take your sandpaper and you wrap it around the cork and just kind of put a little pressure and go back and forth to shave off some of the cork. Do that a couple times and then play. Then do it again the next day and go really slowly, like a little bit at a time. You're just trying to get a few little flakes of the cork off each time you do it because you can't add cork back on, once you've taken too much off. So we want to do this very gradually until it's exactly the right fit. Before you're even doing that, I hope you're also using, if your saxophone came with cork grease, use cork grease after you practice and let it sit. Some people disagree with me on this, but I prefer Vaseline to cork grease. I think that it's just a little more absorbent. It kind of soaks into the cork a little bit better. And with cork grease, once I put it on and I put the mouthpiece on, I get a chunk of like a glob of cork grease that I have to wipe off. And I don't like that. Where Vaseline seems to kind of soak better and it makes the cork smooth. So it's just my preference. But if it already has cork grease in the case, just use the cork grease. And then you need a towel to wipe off the extra grease, the kind of chunks down here. So you're going to shave that cork down until the mouthpiece can move into the place you want it. That's extremely important for intonation because the first step of intonation is getting that mouthpiece in the right place on that cork. So, how do we know where the right place is? When you're in tune, or I'll say when you're out of tune, you're either going to be too sharp, which means you're too high, or too flat, which means you're too low. I'm going to give just a quick example, and I'm going to protect my teeth. Well, a quick example. Didn't want to surprise you there. So if I'm too low, it would be like that might be too low, and too high might be. See how it's like not quite in the middle yet? So I can kind of give an example of this on just the neck. I don't want to get the whole saxophone just yet. So where my mouthpiece normally is, it's about here. Okay, now if I'm flat, I will move the mouthpiece way off of the cork, way towards the tip, and see what happens to the note. See how it's a different note? That's from just moving it on the cork. Now I'm going to put it back in place. It went up. So if you want to lower the pitch, you pull the mouthpiece towards you so you can see more cork. Lower it. If you want to raise the pitch, you push it in, raising the pitch. Okay? That's how you get the mouthpiece in place to lower it or raise it. And you'll get used to where it goes. My cork has actually changed color in the place where the mouthpiece always goes. So I know where to put it because it's a totally different color. But you could put a little mark on there. Maybe get a pencil. It's not going to hurt anything to just put a little pencil line on the cork. You mark it with a little pencil mark, and now you know exactly where to go every time. But how do you know where to set it in the first place on the cork? So now we're going to put the whole saxophone together. The first thing to do is get a visual tuner. A visual tuner, first, it just means that it's showing you with some kind of motion whether it's too high or too low. So I'm going to pull up on my little phone here. You can get visual tuners anywhere. I mean, if you just go to Google, go online, and just type in tuner, you want to make sure it's not something set up for guitars because they have their own thing, like where you plug it in, but just a tuner that works for our kind of instrument. It works for violins or flutes or saxophones, that kind of thing, not something that plugs in. The one I use, you do have to pay a little money. It's, I think, $9, but I use the TE tuner. And I'm going to show you what it looks like there. So at the top, you've got a little face, a little concerned looking face. And then in the middle there is analysis. And I'm going to try to play a little bit, and I'm going to go in tune and out of tune because I want you to see what happens when it's both in and out of tune. Okay? So I'm going to play a high B. So I think I went so far out of tune that it went off. I couldn't really see it, but I think it went off of this thing. Now, what you want is for your note to be right on that line and stay steady. And there's a lot of little tools on this that help you do that. First, the picture there, the little face is concerned if you're out of tune. If you're in tune, you get a smiley face. So you want to get a smiley face. And then it tells you how long you were in tune. So if you were in tune for like 90% of the time, it's going to be a big smiley face. So it lets you know if you're holding the intonation. So what you're going to do to figure out where this mouthpiece needs to be on the cork is get your visual tuner. It's going to know what note you're playing. I would play a middle note. So do middle B, middle low A, low G, those kinds of notes. Get it so that on this tuner, it's staying on the line, and that means you're going to adjust. So if the tuner is saying you're way up high, you're sharp, you're going to move your mouthpiece back towards you. If it's saying you're really low, you're going to move the mouthpiece in. A good way to remember that, think about big instruments and small instruments. Big instruments are low, right? Like a baritone sax is low and it's really big. Tuba is low and it's really big. So low means you're making the instrument bigger. When we pull the mouthpiece out, we're sort of expanding the instrument so it's bigger. And when we do the opposite, when we push the mouthpiece in, we're making it smaller. So that's making it more sharp or raising the note. So that's how you remember what to do with the mouthpiece. So we set our middle notes, like middle B, low A, to being in tune with a visual tuner. That is going to help you when you're sitting in the band and you've got to blend with all the other saxophone players. You've got to be in tune with them. Always try to be in tune with your fellow players rather than in tune with the tuner. Like if you tune yourself and you're in tune with the tuner, but nobody else is, you just have to be what everybody else is. Just you have to match them. Okay, so that's how to get the saxophone as a whole in tune. But now I have some bad news. The middle notes might be in tune, but the high and the low notes are not necessarily in tune. So each note on the saxophone has a different intonation. One of the first things you're going to notice is that maybe middle B, middle C are in tune, but middle D all of a sudden is sharp. That's really common. Middle D is made sharp. It's built sharp. Uh, Now, then, for some of the other notes, it's different for different players and different saxophones. But low notes, like low C, low B, tend to be sharp also, which is really difficult to deal with. And high notes, I've seen it go either way. I've seen students who are really flat on high notes and students who were really sharp on high notes. So it depends on what you're doing with your embouchure and your saxophone itself. So what do we do for our next step? We're going to go back to the mouthpiece again, just the mouthpiece by itself. And every day for, I don't know, a year, maybe 2 years, when you're putting the saxophone together, get the mouthpiece put together first, and then play on just the mouthpiece. And what I want you to do is try moving the pitch, and we want to move it down. So, with the reed here, when we're trying to raise the pitch, we're squeezing the reed up to raise it. When we're lowering the pitch, we're opening, pulling our jaw down and pulling the reed down. So we can't go very far up because the reed is just going to close against the mouthpiece, but we can go really far down. So let me give an example so you hear what that sounds like. So I'm just going to, I think I did it a little bit earlier, but so I want you to start by trying to go from that starting note down about a half step. Not everyone can do that. That took me forever too, by the way. But at first, what you might have is just like it's kind of there, but it's not moving yet. The jaw has to pull down from it, and the cheeks cannot poof. You can't go like that. and the jaw is pulling down. You have to have a little bit more air, more volume of air coming through. And the muscles around your mouth have to really stay strong because now the teeth are not helping you. The teeth aren't pushing up into the reed anymore, they're pulling away. So that means the lip muscles here have to be strong enough to push. That's why this has to be done every day for a while, because you're actually working out your muscles. Muscles equal good tone on the saxophone. You have to be strong or can't do anything. So every day you're just trying to get a half step down by pulling your jaw away, downwards, and kind of towards your collarbone, and then back up. And then once you get that, add another half step. Just wanted to see how far I could go. I think the farthest I've ever gone is about a seventh. I've never hit an octave. But to get there, it was like years of making weird sounds on the mouthpiece. So you have to go through that. You just have to make weird sounds for a while. But see what happens after a year of doing it every single day. One day it's going to work, and then another day it's going to work even better because your muscles are getting stronger. But without that daily practice on that skill, it just won't happen. Okay. So practice with the mouthpiece. It's kind of fun. It sounds silly. So do it every day for a while. Now, what we want to do, I told you how to set the mouthpiece on the cork, right? What we want to do is actually set it not perfectly in tune, but sharp. We're going to set it sharp because then every single note that we play, now that we're strong, we are going to drop down to being exactly in place. So instead of setting middle B, low A, low G, and stuff in tune with the tuner, we're going to set them sharp. And then we're going to open a little bit to get them down in tune. And then for notes like middle D, the first time I played a middle D in tune, according to the tuner, it sounded to my ear really flat. It sounded really flat because I was used to it being sharp. So you're setting everything on the sharp side, and then you're getting your visual tuner and dropping that jaw down to get it in tune with the visual tuner. But now you have to do a little bit more work on that every day. So once you graduate from playing on the mouthpiece, then go into using your, actually, I would switch over to an audio tuner. And I'm going to pull one up also on my phone that I usually like to use. Now, I have the tuning CD. I would highly recommend that you get yourself the tuning CD. It is available on iTunes and I don't know, any whatever new music programs everybody has these days. I have it in a website that I share with my own students. If you are a student and you'd like me to just share this with you, I'm more than happy to do that. Just email me at any links that I include on this video, or you can go to my website. But I'm not sharing it with everybody. Just just between you and me, we can share it. So it's on my secret teacher website. This is the tuning CD, and let me play it for you so you hear what it sounds like. This will hopefully be a G. Oh no, let's go to to D. Yeah, here we go. See if this works. And here we go. Okay. So it kind of sounds like a computer. Sounds kind of like computer-ish, right? This was designed by, I guess, acoustic engineers, and it is it helps you really hear when you're out of tune. You really hear it very well. There's something about the way they made it makes it very noticeable when you're out of tune. The good thing is because it's audio, you can just go through any notes that you want to go through. So that one was D. So you can start by like low D or middle D. I don't know if I'm in tune right now. Let's see. I'm going to play, let's start with middle D, and I'm going to go up, and I might be in tune. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so I started off a little sharp. I'm going to pull out just a little bit, even though that's a D. Okay. So, yeah, I could use a little work myself. What I do is I get this nice and close to my ear. Sometimes I balance it on my shoulder, or I'll put it somewhere close to my ear, or I'll plug it into speakers, make it really loud, and then I'll play, and I'm listening for sound waves. Uh, if you, one thing you can hear when you're out of tune, you might have experienced this before, is the sound waves start to clash. So let's say try to find a friend and have them play a note and then you play a note and then get out of tune and then go back to being in tune. What you're going to hear is it goes whoa 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 whoa. You're going to hear that, okay? And it'll sound better than my voice, I promise. But so when it's going farther away from the note, the waves are going blah, 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 like that. You hear sound waves. The closer you get to being in tune with the note, the waves slow down because they're starting to line up with their speed. You know, like you're maybe doing 442, 441, then you're A 440. So get a friend and just experiment with that. See if you can hear the clashing sound waves when you play together. And that way, when you're playing with a tuner, you can listen for that clash. You can and try to get closer, try to get them completely gone. One last thing I'll tell you, you might hear a word being used about intonation, which is cents. We'll say you're 5 cents sharp or you're 5 cents flat. It took me a long time to actually learn what cents stands for. It actually stands for a percentage. It's a percentage. So from, let's say, a G to a G sharp, which is a half step away from a G, there's, let's say, 100% between a G and a G sharp, from one note to an actual other note. So if I'm 5 cents sharp, that would mean I'm 5% of the way between a G and a G sharp. So when are you out of tune? Like 1%. If you're 1% sharp, you're going to hear clashing sound waves. So this kind of practice, it has to be done every day. Like you've got to have the muscles in place, and it also kind of works your ears. Your ears have to get better at that too. Um, so I would try practicing it on a daily basis. Work those ears out, get the muscles ready, and over time, you're going to see major improvements with your intonation. Okay, good luck. I'd love to hear how you do, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.